Hi there, everybody. Okay. Hi there, everybody. This is going to be a little bit of a strange podcast to do, but it's something I really want to do. So I'm Zane Berry, which a number of you probably already know. But the reason I'm doing this podcast is because, unfortunately, earlier this week, my mother, Tarah Berry, passed away far too soon. It was not a completely unforeseen thing. She's been battling cancer since mid last year. And to anybody who might be watching or listening to this who knew her but wasn't aware of this news, I'm really sorry for your loss, because my mom was an amazing person and she chose to make her diagnosis a bit private for her own good, and we all tried to respect that very much. So I want to get into the format of what I'm going to be doing here with this show. So first of all, am I too quiet? I'm going to hold on one moment. Hey, levels. Yeah, that seems a little bit better. I hope everything I just said wasn't way too quiet. I'm just going to listen for a sec. So, testing. It sounds fine. Okay. So, I wanted to first get into a little bit just how I'm personally feeling with this experience, because for me, I think that would be a little bit therapeutic, and I also believe that anyone who's listening who possibly is going through a similar circumstance, they maybe could stand to benefit from hearing somebody talk about their own firsthand experience with such a major loss. And second, and this I would like to be the bulk of the show, is I would just like to share my thoughts and feelings and memory on who my mom was and why she's just such an amazing person. And I'd like to do that just through telling stories that I love. And I've been thinking about this a little bit, but I don't really have anything written down. So this will just be a little bit of a stream of consciousness, but I'd just like to memorialize and share just what an amazing person my mom is. And ideally that'll give people a laugh and maybe just a little bit of a smile, whether or not they knew her or not. When I was about 18 or so, I started listening to podcasts, and the main host I listened to, Chris Hardwick, suffered the loss of his father. And I remember listening to him kind of talk about it over the course of the year really made me empathetic in a different way, because it was just such a raw, close look at somebody's feelings towards such a tragic thing. And this last year, Bobby Lee, another podcast host I listened to, had the same thing happen to him. So I have found listening to this sort of thing to be helpful, just in getting more firsthand understanding and empathy towards such a tragic event. But, it is what it is, and I don't want to be overly grotesque or triggering in this conversation. I'm just going to try to just talk about the love and beauty of life that my mom had and what impression she's made on me and the people around me. So to anyone listening to this, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And so that, I don't know. It's kind of hard to know what to say a lot of the time. So this is undoubtedly just the most difficult, tragic experience I've gone through. In the last stretch of having our mom with us, just the level of existentialism and I would not even say paranoia, but just genuine worry and anxiety, just kind of got higher and higher and higher. And that's for both the worry of yourself or myself and my family around me, and just, what a hard loss we're all going to take, but also just genuine empathy and feeling towards my mom and just everything she's been going through. So when we got the news that she passed, I took it very hard, but I will say I'm so grateful that she's, just not suffering, and that she's at peace. My mom was just such a beautiful spirit in her way to kind of connect with life and nature and animals. Anybody who knows me knows that I kind of almost grew up on a farm, and the cat's like playing around in the background. She'd find that funny. My mom has had like so many pets in her entire life. Like, she even had a pet raccoon when she was a kid. The cat's like playing directly under my tripod. I hope this isn't an issue. So growing up with my mom, like, we had many, many like pet funerals, not around too many people funerals. But the point is my mom kind of had us exposed to the idea of loss just through having so many pets at an early age. And it's kind of strange to say that something like that would make something like this a little bit easier, but in a way, like, it, just having, I think specifically having her be the guiding person behind such an event has been really consequential on my attitude towards this whole thing in life, because one of the things she showed us one of the last times we got to get together was this commissioned art piece she had her friend create, and it's like a painting, and I believe it's depicting like a tree, and then underneath the earth it's her with her animals, and it was very beautiful imagery, because my mom took care of and gave life to just, me and my two brothers, and took care of all the animals that she did in her life, and it's just really a remarkable thing. This last half year has been really difficult because of, with coronavirus, there's been a myriad of reasons to not visit as much as you would like, because when you're going through cancer treatment, you're very immune compromised. So taking coronavirus serious has been a very, very real thing. One of the first podcast guests I had on during coronavirus, we both made sure to get tested right before, and we both had negative results. And I remember my mom kind of told me that she wasn't really able to watch it because it was a bit scary for her to see me, just like with another person who I don't live with. And I told her that we were both negative and everything, but she said, well, the days in between the results and the test, still anything could happen. And, she was right. I like to think I was being careful and everything, but the point is that this was a immensely serious time within my family. And, it was somebody saying I love you, which is nice. My friends have been really supportive lately. That's been fantastic, honestly. From both friends and family members, just having an abundance of people kind of coming forward and saying, if you need anything, let me know. Let's spend time together. Let's talk on the phone. I know for some people it maybe is bringing on difficult emotions because maybe they feel a bit bombarded and it's just reminding them of what happened over and over again. For me, it's been really just beautiful and helpful to see. One of my friends who's a musician, my mom got to see them in concert at the Crescent Ballroom at one point, and they got to meet afterwards. And I was telling my friend that she, believes in his career and his vision, and that, she thought that what he was doing was good. And, he told me that means a lot to him, and that he always wanted my mom to like him, and that he was in awe of just her general demeanor, and that she was, one of the coolest moms out there. And I've gotten that sentiment a lot in my life, where everyone who meets my mom just really likes her and finds her to be a very genuine, kind person, but also like a cool person that you can really talk to. Like, the vast majority of my sense of artisticness and style comes from both of my parents. But my mom, she moved to Arizona when she was 16 after a life of moving around the country a lot. And I know that, like, she always told the story that when she moved here and got out of the car, she was just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, because it's like so hot here. And this was back, in the 80s or so, like when, global warming hadn't totally hit yet. But, it was hitting, but you know what I'm saying. And she was always friends with, like, I think, like, skaters and maybe punks and that sort of thing. And, next to ASU right now, they're building this giant old folks home in this big parking lot. But next to it, a lot of people may know that there's a abandoned building that used to be a Chili's. And I remember our mom told us that in that general area, there used to be a Tower Records. And she always made a big point that Tower Records was a really prominent music institution at the time. And she used to work there. And I remember she told us that she played pool with U2 when they came in, and she met a bunch of different musicians, and how, like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers would play on Mill Avenue, like, all the time, and she would go see them. And she was really good friends with the band Meat Puppets, who a lot of people these days maybe aren't as familiar with them, but they were an Arizona band who played famously with Nirvana on a live MTV performance. And my mom was really good friends with them, and we have, like, original paintings of their work. And the point is as a kid, I always got to brag about how cool my parents are and how they're just really interesting, artistic, fun people. And my mom was a photographer, and she primarily took black and white photography, and she has, like, really amazing film photography. And I would really like to go through the negatives and figure out, like, what sort of stuff we can get redeveloped into prints. And my dad was talking about doing a gallery, an in-person event, which would be amazing. But she also, made a transition to digital at some point, and, that work is really good. And with her photography, she was just really centered around capturing people and atmosphere and just kind of genuine, in the moment emotion. A lot of her photos are of people just kind of looking at the camera, and like, my mom just has a way with capturing moments and taking pictures to where, like, her photos always feel very similar to each other in terms of essence and, like, what sort of expression she was able to get out of the person. And it felt like you really were looking at a person you could kind of understand in her work. And she also just captured really amazing events, because we lived in such a cool place down in South Phoenix where we were next to local luchador fights and music performances and Hispanic, like, parades and cowboys just coming down the street and ice cream trucks and just, like, a lot of stuff that a lot of suburban Tempe kids don't get to have in Arizona. So I'm so grateful that my parents raised us where we did, and also that my mom was able to preserve so many of those memories. In our, like, I guess I would call our main room in the house, there's, like, this wall where the entire wall is like a bookshelf, and it's filled with photo albums. And me and my brothers, like, we all have, like, an entire book dedicated to, like, age 1, age 2, age 3, age 4, age 5. And there's like literally so many memories, and a lot of them are digitized and scanned, but I think a lot of them still need to be. And I really want to take that task upon myself to get those scanned and, zip foldered in a way that all my family can have and make sure that it's preserved. But something my younger brother said recently when my mom passed is that the double-edged sword of my mom being a photographer is that we don't have as many photos of her as we do of everyone else. That being said, my brothers and my dad lately have been sharing amazing old photos of her. Some of them I've seen, some of them I never have seen, and we definitely have her. And she was so beautiful. I mean, good for my dad. They met in college at ASU. Yeah, and saying that like we still. Oh, I guess just one more thing on the music front. I don't know how accurate this is, but I feel like I remember her telling me she used to DJ at a club where like the Violent Femmes used to play all the time, and I think she hung out with like Black Flag like occasionally. Like I don't know, she was cool. And speaking of still having her, I will say like I've been tremendously sad the last number of days, and I really am right now. But I've been able to keep it together and talk as articulately as I am right now without falling apart, just because I feel extremely motivated to take care of myself right now and take my medication, go for a walk in the morning, and just do things that are good for me. So I think just keeping busy and staying at my work and my art and all those things, are just what my mom would want. And knowing that alone is just enough for me to not just kind of be unraveling by the thread. But I am still, tremendously sad. And I've been thinking about her basically every moment of the day while I'm doing different things. But what's nice is that, it's just so apparent what impression she's left on me and my life and the things around me that like I can just see and feel her in everything I do lately. I mean, I'm wearing like a golf shirt right now, but like my mom, like she's gotten me so many like dope like golf LaFleur shoes. And the thing is like it's not like she had to do her research on like, oh, what are the kids like these days? She was deeply immersed into like shoe culture. Way more so than me. Like a lot of just my general style, like I got from her, and like her picking me out just like dope shoes and stuff. And like when the Flower Boy, Big Fish Theory, Tyler the Creator, Vince Staples show was happening in Tempe, like I ran into her in line. Like I went with my friend. I was with Ariel. And then my mom walks up to me and she's like, hey, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, me and Brandon are seeing Tyler too. I thought you'd be here. And, granted, she was there with my little brother, but like my mom has seen Tyler the Creator in concert more times than me. She was very hip to like culture. I remember one time I was at the house and she was like, hey, can I show you my favorite Young Thug song? And I was just like, yeah. And she showed me Pacifier by Thug, and it's really good. My mom was the person who told me who XXX Tentacion was, and this was like before the scandal and when he was just really well liked. And I remember she was like, I hope this guy gets out of jail so I can see a show, because she just thought like the energy was like interesting, And I remember she sent me the Humble Kendrick video before anyone else, before I had seen it. She put me onto Breaking Bad. She was on Facebook before me. So like my mom, like she never chose to be like the old person who doesn't know what's going on. She keeps up with stuff. And so does my dad. I remember like driving to school one day, like senior year, and my dad was like, Zane, I think my favorite song on Yeezus is I Am a God. I was like, yeah, hurry up with my damn croissants. Good one. So my mom got me like a really nice longboard for my birthday. And she she's always been just extremely embracing of who her kids are and helping them pursue what they enjoy. I'm just gonna. Okay, looks like the camera's still recording. Good. And like right here in front of me, I have an Akira manga, an Andrew Yang book, and a Pokemon VHS propping up my microphone. And it's like my mom, I don't think she ever got to really know what Akira is, but if I told her about it, she probably would have been all ears. And with Pokemon, as a kid, like she learned the 151 Pokemon, and then when Generation 2 Pokemon, created 100 more characters, she did pretty good with those ones. I don't know if she had 100% of them, but she really kept up with us, like watching the shows and understanding like who Ash and Misty and Brock were. And my parents got us N64 for, I believe, my older brother's birthday when I was really young. And one of the first games we got after NBA Showtime was Pokemon Snap, because my mom liked Pokemon and she liked photography, and she saw this game and she was like, oh, clearly this is a win. And like that was one of the games we enjoyed playing more than anything, and she would play it with us, and she kind of learned how to use a controller to an extent. And I remember she tried playing Mario Kart with us, and she was very embracing of just sitting down with us and understanding what SpongeBob is, what the Fairly Odd Parents are. She read all the Harry Potter books, like with and without us, and went to those movies with us. And my parents kind of split up how they drove us to school, but both of them have just done an amazing job, just transporting us across, because we would drive like 20 minutes to school and 20 minutes back, just to make sure that we could go to a good school, even if it was outside of our local district. And, through that, like, my mom got to attend, like, so many fun school events for us, whether or not it was, like, the local, like, or the annual after-school Halloween fair, or taking us to our orchestra concerts, because my parents thought it was important for us to learn musical instruments. One of the last things she said to us too, I remember she was like, trying to tell us, remember how talented you are. And she said, don't forget, you know how to play violin. Yeah. And she always really liked, meeting our friends and kind of understanding who they were. My best friend Ariel, sophomore year, I remember one day he asked for a ride home from school, and we were just kind of beginning to be friends, so like we didn't know each other too well, but I said, walk with me to the car and let's go see. And I was like, hey mom, this is Ariel, apparently he lives in between school and our house, do you think we could just drop him off along the way? And that led to us giving him a ride home every day for basically 3 years. And the fact that she did that is just so showing to her character, that she was willing to be helpful to his parents who, had work and other children as well. And like I've watched TV and movies with my mom like more than anyone in my life, because when I was like in 4th grade, she decided to put on The Office when it was like first coming out, and basically every Thursday for 9 years we would watch the new episode of The Office, the new episode of Parks and Rec, Scrubs, My Name is Earl. She tried to like Community. She never was huge on Community, but I remember she liked Donald Glover's character the most. She hated the dean on that show so much. And I remember we got her into Arrested Development, and she watched all of Arrested Development with us. So it was always just so fun, like getting to just like watch so many comedies with her, and like just, she had like a good sense of humor, and she understood things, and it made having a very transparent relationship with my mom and really both of my parents so easy. I remember there was a time where one of our friends was kind of in an odd location at an odd time of night, and we kind of asked our mom, like, hey, could you help us like pick him up and get him home safely? And she did it. And I remember what she said to me was, just understand that I want you to be safe and I want your friends to be safe. And, if you ever find yourself at a party you're not supposed to be at and you're really scared about what's to happen and you just want mom to pick you up, she said, I will come in a heartbeat, and you do not have to explain anything to me, because if you being afraid of telling me what happened is going to keep you from asking for help when you really need it, she's saying, like, I don't want that. So, you can keep your personal details to yourself and I can just come get you. And I remember that always hit me with just such an impression of just pure love and understanding and just general care for my well-being and our well-being, and the fact that she extended that to our friends is really just incredible. We really could tell that she cared deeply about them and really just anyone she came across, as long as they're a decent human being. I was saying before, she was a big animal lover. So yeah, when she grew up, she had rabbits, horses. She even had a raccoon, but it like bit her, and then like they had to get rid of it, But at one point, she would go to the local animal shelter every Thursday and take thousands of photos of the dogs that are up for adoption. She would create little, I don't even know how she did it, because she wasn't really a Photoshop user per se, but she would create like basically little like advertisements for these dogs, and then she would put them all on this big Facebook page that she made just based around helping animal rights and animal well-being and trying to get them adopted, essentially. And I think it had like several thousand subscribers to this page, and that she probably did help a lot of animals find homes. And towards the end, she got to work at an animal shelter, and I visited her at work once last year, and just seeing her be helpful to people looking to adopt was really great to see, because it was clear that she was really trying to find the animal a good home, but then also help alleviate the worries of somebody who might be new to getting a pet. Growing up, there was always a lot of stray cats who would live basically in our front yard, and my mom always would kind of trap them, get them spayed and neutered, and release them to basically keep them from continuously breeding as a means of just alleviating suffering and making sure that there isn't like generations of these cats like in the heat, going hungry and whatnot. But we would put out food and water for them, and really mostly she would, but we would help when she asked. And essentially, if there was a new litter of kittens, we would take them in and we would raise them in the house and have fun with the kittens for a few weeks. And then when they started to get a little bit bigger, we would arrange to get them adopted by friends and family, and then we would usually talk her into letting us keep like the cutest one that we liked the most. And that's basically how we have the pets we have. So it's like, in theory, some of our cats might be like great like uncles of each other or something. And I remember something that she was doing that was really cool. Maybe I was even in elementary school. It feels like a while ago. I remember she was writing a short story kind of based on the animals, and she was zeroing in on their personalities and maybe some of their physical ailments, and she was making a really cool personified short story about the animals. And I think she kind of toyed around with the idea of getting it turned into like an actual novel and stuff. And gosh, I really want to find that in her files and read it, because it was really cool. And there's just the existential thing about this whole circumstance is just that you realize how it's so important not to take life too seriously and just do what you enjoy. And also that, there's some projects you have that you just might not finish. And I'm somebody that's always had really big debilitating anxiety and depression around mortality. And it has made me feel like I excessively need to be productive and efficient. And anytime I see anything that's like getting in the way of that, whether or not it's my desk being messy or having too many aspirations, it can really freak me out. But I looked at my mom and just how much she loved to do the things that she loved to do, and how it's really just important to take your time with things and enjoy them and just soak it up for what it is. People would sometimes make fun of her for being like too slow when we would go places like the zoo or wherever, or even just leaving a restaurant, because she really just liked to soak in every moment, and the thing is like, I really think that that's more the detriment of other people than her. And what I mean by that is, the fact that she, whether or not she was taking going out to eat or going out to the zoo as like a big event to be enjoyed and to look forward to, and, she would take her steps with intention and really take in the things around her and look at them, like that's like true mindfulness. And she was an extremely mindful person. She would want to look at something, read about it, talk to people, take pictures, and sometimes I can feel so frantic-brained that, she's always been like a very guiding voice to just say, it's okay, things are going to be fine, this isn't that important, and, just it's okay. And that's the thing, like, I don't really feel like she's gone, in the sense that just I know what she would say to me if I had a question or a concern or maybe something I needed to know from her. I feel like she raised me and my brothers just so well with my dad, and that, if I'm ever doubting myself about something, I more or less know how the conversation would go with her. When I was younger and starting to become extremely debilitated by the idea of death, I remember I was really freaked out, and I would spend a lot of time with her just kind of crying and talking about it. And I remember she told me how our next door neighbor, Bernice, who passed away last year, and I believe Bernice was about like 98 or so. My mom told me how Bernice always would give her really good advice and consequential life talks. And one of the things is, I believe it was when they were going to fly to Hawaii for a vacation, something like that. I know that my mom was having a lot of panic about the idea of being away from my older brother, possibly, if he was born yet, or maybe just the idea of flying across the ocean was scary, whatever it was. And Bernice told her, if you live your whole life afraid of those sorts of things, then you just won't really get to live life, and you just need to sort of just tell yourself it's okay, and, just do the things that you want to enjoy. And I was young, so I didn't totally take that to heart at first, but I could understand that there was great meaning behind it. And I remember I was telling her just how I was so scared, and like I just don't want to die. And I remember she told me that, and this was really hard to understand at the time, but I remember she told me, Zane, there's worse things that can happen to you in life than dying. And it was really hard to understand what she meant by that, but like I get it, because in the end she had an amazing life filled with a lot of really beautiful people and things and pleasures. And now that she's crossed over, it's so tragic for the people she knows, and the things that we wish she got to still do. But, in the end, her suffering is over, and I like to think that she's in a better place, and she's still with us. And for the rest of us, like we now are really, at a loss. And, it just makes me think of what she told me that day, like over 10 years ago. That, worse things can happen. And, it's important to just remain calm and appreciative and just kind of plunge forward and not let yourself get knocked down. And some of the parting wisdom and advice that she gave us was to really not let people take advantage of us and try to work only on projects and with people who value us as creative collaborators and, are going to like pay us appropriately, and basically just do things that isn't going to like make us feel miserable to work on them. And also, like romantically, she was saying like, make sure you're with somebody who matters, and same thing, doesn't take advantage of you. And, that sort of advice really extended to just everything from friends to whatever it is. And I think that she really understands the importance of being true to yourself and doing what you want to do and not compromising because somebody's making it difficult. With her music, she even had like a record collection, and I think she told me that she had over 100, maybe even over 150 individual vinyls of just The Who, because she would track down every foreign print and alternative release that she could humanly find. And because of that, she had like over 100 just The Who vinyl. And that was aside from the rest of her collection. And she wound up becoming really fascinated with shoe culture. And she would be an eBay seller for Vans shoes, and she would always show us just the really cool like limited shoes that she was getting ready to sell. I don't really remember specifically, but maybe like the Mickey Mouse ones or the Wonder Woman ones, whatever they are. And speaking of her being like open-minded to the stuff that like her kids like, I remember in 2016, my older brother and I really liked Bernie Sanders, and she wound up, taking to his campaign, and, she was proudly into Bernie. And then this last 2019-2020 season, I was so all about Andrew Yang, and then she wound up kind of becoming Yang Gang as well. And when she and I got to go on a little vacation together, just one-on-one to California, like we both just had like our Yang shirts on, and it was kind of funny, I don't know, just occasionally getting like a stranger talking to us about it. And she really just believed in like helping people, whether or not it was, why are Americans not being treated well enough? We should have health care or give people a guaranteed income, whatever it is. And I'm not really trying to have a political discussion right now, but it's just more so that I think that she was really receptive to like good ideas, and listening to her kids about sort of what we thought the future like could be. And she was very open-minded to new ideas, and it just that sort of thing makes bonding with her, a parent, like just really encouraging and easy. And like I think that that's like a really big luxury that I've gotten to have my whole life, because both of my parents are artists. My dad is an amazing bronze sculptor, amongst other things. And when I was like trying to decide what I was going to go to college for, the one thing I wasn't worrying about was what am I going to tell my parents, because I was always a good student and they wanted me to be, but outside of that, there was no real pressure about I have to be a this or a that. and they encouraged artistic pursuits our entire life. So when I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, and go to film school, it was not really a thought for them. Like they immediately were like, yeah, sounds good. Sounds like you'd be well suited for that. Let's help you get, sorted out, with applying to school and the dorms and whatever it is. And, so getting to have my mom go to like my capstone film screening and have her like it so much was really amazing. But she's been sharing like everything I do, from podcasts to video essays, on, social media now, like all the way up until the end. And it's just so meaningful to see her be so supportive of what I do. And, she would tell me, like, I feel bad I haven't been able to keep up with everything you do, but it's just because you make so much stuff. I just told her, like, it's okay. I think everybody's too busy to keep up with everything I do. But she really tried, and it meant something to her to try. And, that goes for both my brothers. She was so supportive of Brandon's class photo t-shirt business, and my older brother's music, and his book video essays he's been doing, and, my dad's sculpting and the business that they ran together. So, it's, my mom really believes in me and my family and what we want to do. And I'll just never take that for granted, because I have so many friends that just, I hear them talk about how like they have difficult relationships with their parents, and how like they're at odds with them over what they want to do with their life, and the idea of being an artist is kind of foreign to them, at least, or foreign to their family. And when I was young, and I really associate this with my dad, but both of them, if we were bored or something, they would tell us to draw. And, we had Game Boys and whatnot, but there were situations where we couldn't totally do that. And, they always told us, like, draw, go make a doodle, whatever it is. And, like when we were kids, if we had to, get family a present, they always just encouraged us to make a card or make a drawing and, kind of make something with our hands, and how like that's the greatest gift. And, I've seen my dad just like keep everything I've given him, and it's really, really meaningful. But both of my parents, they would sit down and doodle with us, and they, it's like, on one hand, I could say they saw it as an important life skill, but more so I think that they just genuinely thought it was fun and a good use of time. And something I've always maintained is I think everybody is creative and everybody can be an artist, and how the word artist has been unfortunately put on a pedestal by society. I think it's important to be really dedicated to your intentions in life. So if you're going to do art, think about like what you're trying to feel or say, and like, make it with care. But that being said, I think creativity and artisticness can be anything from interior design to cooking to maybe even being inventive as an engineer or whatever it is. And I think just zeroing in on the creative spark of problem solving and coming up with new things is deeply within human beings. And we would not be this far in society if we did not all possess that trait. I think inventiveness and creativity and having new ideas is inherently what being a human being is. And I think artists really understand that. And some people may hear such an isolated soundbite and think that that sounds a bit pretentious, but what I think is that everybody is this way to the core, and society unfortunately does not encourage us enough to flesh these skills out and really get comfortable with them. And so having parents who both are artists in my life has been amazing, because to me, like, the idea of doing it has been so realistic and attainable. I've seen my dad be a freelance sculptor, I've seen my mom be a freelance photographer or even mural designer, and like I understand that there's ways to do this. There are paths to practice your skills and apply for work, and it takes a lot of hard work, but you can do it. And I think my understanding of that is one of the favorite things about myself that I have, and I have nobody to thank for that besides my parents. and my brothers also for being creative themselves and being inspired by them. Just thinking about Pokemon again, like my mom, she even took us to like a Pokemon convention, and there was like, you could, if you had Fire Red or Leaf Green, you could have them trade you, or no, they could activate the special event where you could go get Lugia and Ho-Oh, and they had like big inflatables everywhere, and they had demo playing for Pokemon XD, and she would always take us also to like the Renaissance Festival and the Arabian Horse Show and the Dog Show and Pumpkin Patch, and she just really liked to like go out and do things. And I always say that I'm really bad at coming up with plans, but I really just need to be more like my mom and just kind of go like have nice afternoons out of little things. I remember in 2019, at the end of the year, I started to go through Facebook events and just look at like what local events existed and plug them into my 2020 calendar. And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm going to go to the Mesa Dumpling Festival. Why not? And I think that partially just comes from like thinking about my mom and like all the just different stuff that she wanted to just go do and try for fun. And I want to be more like that after the vaccine. Yeah, and like I said, she would totally go to concerts, and I just feel for her friends so strongly, both those of them who knew that she was sick and those who are unfortunately finding out about this tragic news so suddenly, because it's just so clear that she did so many fun things with just like a lot of people, and it was largely revolving around like music and culture and just having a good time. I thought I'd be able to fill talking for an hour really easily, but now I'm just starting to be a little bit lost for words, but I think it's okay if this is a little bit short too, but I don't know. I'm recording this as a little bit of a therapeutic thing, and it's nice to be able to talk about her in such a long stream of consciousness, and not have to wait for my therapy appointment that's about to come up. But I just really want people to be able to understand what a beautiful, amazing person she was. And maybe, even if anybody listening to this has zero relationship with me or my mom, either, and they're just a podcast fan, like, I hope something I've said here has given you some sort of, I don't know if inspiration is the right word, but I see how my mom and my family has positively impacted me and the people around me for years, and it just makes me feel so grateful to be raised with like a loving, optimistic, open-minded outlook on life. And I hope that can continue to rub off on other people. Something I've been thinking about is the scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender where he's learning about his chakras, and he does the heart chakra, and he has a vision of all the people that he's lost. And the guru kind of says, your love is not gone. Love is a form of energy, and that energy is still swirling around inside of you, and it'll be used and turned into new love. And he sees the vision of his new love. And that's how I feel. Like, I don't really feel like my mom is gone, because unfortunately I can't continue to see her or ask her questions in person, but I just feel her presence with me so strongly. And lately, getting to spend more time with my dad and my brothers, I feel them with me a lot more now too. And I think it's going to be an important part of my life, much more so now, to just spend time with family more often, because I think it brings me a level of energy that I've been missing a little bit as a young adult. And I think, it's really easy in life to say that you're busy and make excuses and think about all the accomplishments you want to have. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is time, and time with your family and friends. And, so it's been so encouraging to just see people come out of the woodwork to like wish me well and want to spend time with me. My friend Brandon, he texted me yesterday saying, "Hey man, just thinking about you. Let me know if you need anything." And this morning I said, "You got a rake?" Because like, I don't know, we haven't raked outside in a while. And I just figured, doing some yard work with my friend sounds like a nice time. I think people should maybe extend those sorts of offers and plans with their friends even outside of tragedy, because like to me just going and doing some yard work with my friends sounds like a really nice time. Honestly, it sounds fun. Gosh, I don't think I have ADHD, but I'm able to go on weird branching tangents a lot. I don't know. I was talking about my mom. Yeah. Gosh, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying that she's just still with me. Yeah, just like with everything I'm doing, I just feel her, and I think that the essence of her love exists within me, and that's why I'm here, and that's why my brothers are here, and I know that that'll be brought back to my dad and my surrounding family, and that she's not truly gone, and I don't really think anyone is, for that matter. And I think that that's a beautiful thing about life. Um, Her favorite movies were, it's so funny, it's like 50 First Dates, but then also Apocalypse Now and Apocalypto. And I remember she saw Hereditary, that A24 movie, and she was like, is this really the movie everybody said was so scary? Like, she just wasn't bothered by Hereditary. Um, I remember recently she was saying that she needs to watch Moonlight and she wants to rewatch Lion, and I wish she could have done those things. It was always just so fun watching movies with her. And gosh, dude, like, and going back to like how many shows I've watched with her, I watched Lost with her all the way through like twice, and I watched the entire show Girls with her. And Girls has like some pretty like raunchy like sex scenes and stuff in it, but like my mom was just very mature, and like it made me that way too, to where like I was able to watch like dramatic television with like nude sex scenes in it with my mom, and like neither of us were like weird about it. We were just kind of watching TV, and the episode would end and we'd be like, oh, that one was good. And I think being able to have just such a transparent relationship with a parent has just been so meaningful. Like I said, I got to go on vacation with her to her favorite place in California, Carmel by the Sea, back at the end of 2019. And that was a really meaningful trip because I hadn't been since I was a little kid, but it's like my mom's favorite place in the world, or at least one of them. And it's such a pretty little town. It was the original arts district of America. And the mayor used to be Clint Eastwood, and she and I walked down to his ranch where there's all these sheep, and it's a really cool place. And it was just some really nice one-on-one time, and possibly some of the most meaningful one-on-one time we got to have. And she showed me this really good show, High Maintenance, on HBO, very underrated. But I got to talk to her about what was bothering me at the time, and she gave me sound advice, and she listened, and I finally told her that I'm bisexual, and she, it wasn't an issue at all, and we had a good conversation about just relationships and self-expression. And there are some family members listening to this that didn't know that, but that's fine. And yeah, like I just didn't really have any secrets from her. And that's why, like, getting to have like some nice final conversations and goodbyes, it was so hard. But like, I feel like I remember she told me, like, I know you, me and my brothers, I know you guys, and I know who you are. And, I mean, maybe I told her that, I don't know, but it's been so fuzzy. But the point is like, I feel like we knew each other very well. And in that regard, it's hard for me to have regrets. I've been having some, for sure. There's things I wish I did with her. There's times I wish I was nicer or responded better or was more embracing to plans or her missing us. But, she told us it's very important to her for us to not sit around sad and caught up about all the things that we didn't get to do, but instead just get to revel in all of the things we did get to do. And I think that that's been very meaningful to me. And Oh, I just realized why the mic levels are so low. I think it's just because the microphone's further away from my face than normal. Yeah, this is like 3.5 fists. Fuck. Oh well. Well, I hope this audio was good. But I remember years ago she told me, like, in a drive-through. I don't know how we got to this subject, but she said, if she passes away, that at her funeral she wants to hear "Over the Rainbow," the Hawaiian version by that Izzy artist. I can't say his last name. And that song since then has always made me think of her, and it's a really beautiful song, and I believe it even ends 51st Dates, so that's like a funny little connection. And yeah, I'm gonna do my research, but if it is true that Spotify allows people to put songs in podcasts now, I'd like to end this episode with that. And if I can't, go listen to it. It's a beautiful song. I don't really have too much else to say right now. I'm sure the subject may come up in the future as I continue to talk with other guests and whatnot, but thank you for listening, especially those of you who listened to the end. My mom is still with all of us, and for anybody that knew her, I'm, my deepest condolences for your loss. My mom was an amazing person, and thank you so much to my family and friends who have been reaching out to see if I'm okay, to see if my family's okay, and who's been offering to help out. It means the world, and I hope nobody else has to go through something like this anytime soon. And that's about it. Love you, Mom, so much, and I always will. Have a nice day, everybody.
That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where